Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some of the craziness happening in the 2025 recruiting cycle, getting you updated with all of the guys you should know, all of the names that you should know going into what's going to be probably the craziest time for recruiting for coaches, which is the summertime. But now it's time for another Top 10 Tuesday. We have a great one for you today. Coaches, which a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on. I've seen a ton of people have Lance Leipold all the way up at number 3 in the country. I've seen people have him not in the top 10. So a lot of differing opinions, but I have mine. So let's jump right in. Why don't we? There is a ton to like about this group of coaches. There is so many incredible coaches across the entire country. And the only one I was absolutely confident in when putting it in is Kirby Smart is the number one coach in the country. I don't think anyone is pushing back on that anymore. Since Saban retired, he feels like he's been the consensus number one. Back-to-back titles before this year, and if they had one or two plays back in that Alabama game, I think they would have been right in the thick for another title and possibly a three-peat, which would have been just incredible. He's also an incredible recruiter, as we know, one of the best defensive minds in all of the game, and the list can go on and on with him. He's a remarkable relationship builder, so Kirby is one of those guys that is doing pretty much everything perfectly, which is just incredible to watch. He has kind of recreated that Bama machine that everyone has talked about over the last decade or so in this sport, and has emulated it nearly perfectly at UGA with his own little ers and ahs thrown in there. But he's the first person I've seen in my lifetime that I feel can match what Nick Saban did, and it's going to be incredibly hard. I'm not saying he's going to be close to do it, next year or anything like that, but he is someone that, with the age that he is currently at, with the passion that he coaches with, and with the teams that he puts out on a year-by-year basis, he is someone that, against all odds, could possibly catch Nick Saban in all of this. But number 2 is Dabo Swinney. I know there are a lot of people that think he should be way down on this list. I know there are a lot of Dabo Swinney haters. But at the end of the day, this is a 2-time national championship coach. There are only 3 guys in all of college football that have won national championships as a head coach: Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, and Mac Brown. So all of those guys deserve a ton of respect, but the top 2 guys here won it twice, and a lot of people will tell you it's because he had Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, 2 just remarkable quarterbacks in college football history. But at the end of the day, you got to get them on campus, and you have to develop them, and you have to put them in the right positions. And Dabo Swinney was a huge part of all of that. I think one of the big knocks on Dabo Swinney, and the one thing that I really worry about with him going forward, is he could definitely be falling down this list in the next couple of years if he doesn't change his ways in recruiting. I think he has to play a bigger part in the portal. Clemson is a huge program right now. It has, a lot of the kids that you were currently recruiting saw you win 2 championships during the Nick Saban terror that ran over college football. So he's got to take advantage of it. And if he doesn't, I think it could come at the detriment of Clemson football, but we'll see what happens. He is kind of held steadfast in his belief, and we'll see if it comes to fruition for him. But just to give you an idea of just how incredible of a coach he really is, the last 2 seasons they've won 10 games and 9 games, and it's been an abject failure. I think everyone would say that. A ton of people have said that as reasons why he's not good anymore, but it's remarkable any time that your team can win double-digit games and your fan base is not happy. So that gives you an idea of how high I think of Dabo Swinney and how high on this list he deserves to be. So let's keep going here. I got Brian Kelly at number 3, and I know there are a lot of people, especially recently it seems, trying to discount the coach he is because he hasn't won a national title. And as I just said, there are only 3 guys in the game right now that have. So it's really hard to win a national title is what I'm trying to say. But it is incredibly hard as well to field a team every single year that is going to win 9, 10 games, is going to be at least in the conversation at the end of the year. And Brian Kelly has done that pretty much everywhere he goes. Notre Dame obviously played for a national title while there in 2012. Didn't go his way. A good day for Alabama and the Crimson Tide that day, but getting there was a remarkable achievement and something that not a lot of coaches have been able to pull off. So he's someone that I have a ton of respect for. I think, honestly, there were some mechanisms at Notre Dame that were kind of holding him back a little bit. And I think now that he's at LSU, all the floodgates are open for him to do and be whoever he wants. So I think he is doing an incredible job there. He's recruiting at a really high level. And the staff he's putting together is just remarkable, which is something that separates the good coaches from the elite coaches. Is can you surround yourself with people that are just as remarkable as you? And he's done an incredible job, especially this offseason, in doing that. So, huge fan of Brian Kelly. And then Ryan Day, I have at the 4 position. Another guy that is coached for a national title, but came up on the short end that day. He is someone that people will try to convince you he's something he isn't. People will try to tell you he hasn't won anything, so he's not talented or he's not a good coach. He's one of the best offensive minds in all of the sport. He is a remarkable recruiter. He obviously does a great job with all of the quarterbacks that come in that room. Some have hit at different levels. Obviously, Kyle McCord, not necessarily the level you wanted in Columbus, but at the end of the day, this guy knows what he's doing, and he made a huge decision in giving up play calling and handing it over to Chip Kelly, who's one of the best offensive minds in all of football. So he's made a lot of really tough decisions that some other coaches just wouldn't make, and it's really interesting to see all of this unfold. It'll be fascinating to see if he can play that GM role with that new role that he's kind of taken on. And giving up play calling duties is a totally different skill set. So it will be interesting to see if he can kind of climb up this list because of that decision, or maybe it's too much for him and he slowly starts to fall down this list. But we'll see as time goes on. Number 5, I have Kalen DeBoer. He is someone that I have gained a crazy amount of respect for crazy fast because he is one of the best football minds we have in the game. I think he is someone that immediately makes a football team better. I think he could walk into a room with any group of athletes and put together a game plan that makes sense because he is someone that understands the game at such a high level. And obviously he's in a position now where you're taking over for a guy that knew more football than probably anyone on planet Earth in Nick Saban. But at the end of the day, this is a very, very good head coach. The staff he's put together at Bama is really solid, even though there were some bumps in the road with Ryan Grubb moving on to the NFL along with Scott Huff, but he's filled those gaps as needed. So it's been a tough couple of months, I would say, with all of the changes going on around Alabama, but when it comes to the football field, there are very few people that outdo Kalen DeBoer. So he's in my 5 position. And then let's get into the back half of this. Lincoln Riley is in my 6th position. I still think he's a fantastic head coach. You don't stumble onto 4 trips in a row to the playoff by accident. I promise you that. So he's obviously an incredible offensive mind, does a remarkable job with the quarterbacks that go through there, has won a ton of Heismans with the quarterbacks that he has had. And much like Ryan Day, he's someone that had to admit where a mistake was made, where his identity, the way that he was playing and going about business pretty much on a day-to-day basis was just not good enough. So that change will be probably the decider for the rest of his career. If he can pull it off, I think he can win multiple national titles. If he can't pull it off, it might be a little bit tougher of sledding for Lincoln Riley towards the end of his career here. But, well, we're not even remotely towards the end of his career, but we'll see how that turnaround works. But as of right now, he's still among the top coaches in the country. Then let's get into Steve Sarkisian, a newer name on the block in terms of being among this group of people, but coming off a remarkable year, his best year as a head coach by a fairly comfortable margin. Obviously, a great offensive mind, does great things with his quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers has been getting better every single year. I think this upcoming year is going to be huge for Texas, just to solidify that they are, quote-unquote back. They are in the conversation year over year. It wasn't just a blip on the radar last year where you had a lot of talent. You can emulate it and you can reload and keep going. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do this year. But I think his best trait has just been program building. He's been incredible at bringing in all of the talent that they need. I mean, he started with not enough offensive linemen to have a spring game, and now he has one of the best rooms in the country at offensive linemen. The QB room has done an entire 180 flip since he got there, and it started with Quinn Ewers coming over. And then the staff he's built has been just remarkable. So he's someone that has a very clear vision, obviously, and has been executing it incredibly well. So that's why he's in my 7th spot, followed by another guy that had a remarkable year this year, Mike Norvell. Just incredible stuff he's doing at Florida State. He has built over the last couple of years, and Florida State fans have had to be a little bit patient, but last year was quite the payoff with a 13-0 record before a lot of stuff didn't go your way. But we won't worry about that right now. I think my only worry for Mike Norvell, and I think he's capable of pulling this off year over year, but it is a worry where you're bringing in a lot of guys from the portal, and obviously a lot of teams are doing that, but the reliance on the portal can be a worry if you don't execute that correctly every single year. So there is a little bit of boom or bust potential in these Florida State teams, but if he can deliver this year, I think I will no longer worry about however many transfer portal players he wants to bring in. More than fine with me, because he can obviously make it work year over year. And then a couple of guys here at the end that were in the Pac-12 last year now are on the move, but Kyle Whittingham over at Utah, kind of like Brian Kelly, just a model of consistency. Will always field a team that is going to give teams fits, has had a number of incredible seasons, including prior to this year going to back-to-back Pac-12 championships. So just a remarkable developer of talent, a remarkable coach, obviously has great relationships with his kids, and has been just as consistent as you can possibly be at a place like Utah. So I have huge respect for Kyle Whittingham. I think he's someone that if he's not in your top 10, I totally disagree right away. But we'll round things out here with Dan Lanning. A little bit earlier on in his head coaching career, and I understand if you'd want to put some of the honorable mentions like Lance Leipold, Chris Kleinman, or Mark Stoops, or even Jeff Brom above him. But the way I look at it is Dan Lanning is, I don't want to say the new Kirby Smart because that's putting way too much on him, but he is pulling that same type of attitude when taking over Oregon. He is taking everything that he learned at UGA, from structure to practice to everything that he can think of, and he has taken it over to Oregon. He is creating an SEC program as far away from SEC country as possible, and it's going to be a very interesting thing to watch. I think he's someone that can develop talent really well, is a remarkable defensive mind, and he's, like Sark, has a very clear vision, it seems, and I think executing that vision, he's done a great job over the first couple of years, but year 3 and year 4, as we know, are kind of the deciding years for coaches. So we'll see if he can kind of continue on that path that he's been on in the past couple of years. And then obviously some of the honorable mentions, Lance Leipold, Chris Kleinman, Mark Stoops, Jeff Brom, all those guys just do incredible things with not nearly as much talent as other people, always win a ton of games, always win more games than you're expecting them to win. So huge amount of respect for those guys. But those are my top 10. Let me know in the comments if you have any objections to this. I'm sure there are some people that are totally disagree with this, but I'm happy to interact with all of you if you have any different opinions. But that will do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a ton to us, so please leave a positive review and subscribe to the show. It means a ton to us. And also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or X, TikTok, Instagram, all of the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly want across pretty much every sport you could possibly think of. We have awesome people here doing incredible work across every single sport, so definitely follow on all of the pages there. But thank you once again for listening, and I will see you guys tomorrow.